If you've ever said, I don't have enough time, then this is for you. Because I used to say that constantly, and then about 5 years ago, something completely changed for me in the way I see time management. And since then, I've managed to build this YouTube channel all by myself while working full-time in healthcare as a pharmacist. It is pretty cool. I have a consistent gym routine where I've built my dream body, and I still make time for friends and family, all without burning out. And that might sound impressive, but the truth is I'm not naturally disciplined and I am not special. I just finally stopped treating time like it was something that I would magically have more of someday and started using a system to get things done instead. So I'm going to show you exactly how to make time for everything so that you can stop waiting for the perfect moment and start building that life that you say you dream of instead. Starting with the number one biggest realization that I had to make, and it's that it's never the right time, so just start. And that sounds so stupidly simple, but it is so true. But this is something that I struggled with for years. And I did this for everything: working out, starting a YouTube channel, sitting down to write. I felt like I needed everything to be perfect in order to get started. Because the problem with the mindset that it took me years to figure out is that ready is not a feeling, it's a choice. And the great news with that is that you can get started before you have things figured out. That's kind of the whole point. I actually think that figuring things out as you go along is one of the greatest life hacks of the most effective people. There's people who just think about getting started, and then there's people who actually do the thing. And it's the doers that make the most progress because they do it messy. I never would have got this thing if I didn't just start. I filmed my first YouTube video on my phone. I had no idea what I was doing. And if you don't cringe at the things you did when you were a beginner, then I think you might have done something wrong. It just goes to show how much progress you can make if you just keep showing up and keep trying. You will pivot, you will learn, and you will get so much more confident as you go. So just get started. And I know you're gonna be like, well, great, Christina, but what if I'm not trying to build a YouTube channel with thousands of subscribers? I really think you should. It's really fun. But what if you're just trying to do things like build a consistent gym routine after work, take some time to yourself from your kids, or start that side hustle that you've always been dreaming of doing, but you're just too overwhelmed? Well, this is exactly where you can start implementing this next step, which I swear when I learned about it, it literally changed my brain chemistry. And it is called the ABZ framework. And no, this has nothing to do with the alphabet or Sesame Street, but it is a concept that I learned from the writer of Atomic Habits, James Clear. A represents where you are right now. Z represents where you want to end up. And B through Y are the steps that you have to take to get from A to Z. And that sounds easy enough, but you would be surprised how many people get overwhelmed and simply just freeze when they start thinking about all the steps that they need to take to get from A to Z. And sometimes it can be so overwhelming that it leads you to do nothing at all. Like for instance, I'm training for my second ever half marathon and I am not a runner. I find it just never gets easier for me. I turn so red. Look how red I am. That's me on running. And I basically am this camel at the end of every run. So I struggle with procrastinating them a lot, and what overwhelms me even more is thinking things like, okay, I got my long run tomorrow morning, it means I got to sleep well tonight, I gotta get up early, I gotta make sure I hydrate, I gotta make sure I eat enough, and I'm already thinking about bailing before I've even put my shoes on. So instead of psyching myself out and getting super overwhelmed thinking about how the heck I'm going to get from A to Z, all I'm gonna think about is just how to get to B. Because B is the immediate next step that you need to take. And in order to get from A to Z, all you have to do is just keep repeating B over and over again. So instead of thinking about how I'm just gonna be dying out there for the next 2 hours, I'm just gonna go put my running outfit on.
I think blue was better actually.
And once I've done that, I'm just gonna keep repeating step B until I'm out there running. And this framework works with everything. Like if you don't feel like working on that big project, just sit down and open your laptop. If you're really feeling like you want to bail on that workout class, just put your gym shoes on. If reading a book feels like too much, then just read the first sentence. When you shift your focus to the immediate next action step that you need to take, instead of thinking about all the things you have to do at once, you will make so much more progress than you think you will.
I just did the first part of my intervals, now I'm doing the second part, and I'm still getting to B. Every time I do a round, I want to stop, I want to die, I just want to walk and give up. Just keep getting to B, even when you're in it.
And James Clear even says, it's remarkable how much you can get done if you just don't stop. So just keep repeating B. But even if you know exactly what you should be doing, sometimes it's really hard to follow through if your environment is working against you. Because some of the biggest time wasters are those little decisions that you have to make every single day. Like, what should I make for dinner? What should I wear today? I should probably clean first. So it is so important to take this next step, which is to design your environment to make the thing you want to do the easiest option. I do things like automate all my bill payments so they are always paid on time. I like to batch a lot of my life admin to one day a week where I do things like clean the apartment or laundry. I have a style uniform and a wardrobe where all my clothes mix and match, so getting dressed is really easy. I find the fewer decisions I have to make, the less I freeze and the more energy I have to give to the things I want to do. And when I'm in a particularly busy season of life, like right now, one of the best ways that I can save my time in a season like this is just figuring out what's for dinner. And that is where I am so stoked to thank the sponsor of today's video, Factor. Hey, look what got delivered right after my run. Eee, let's unbox it. Factor delivers chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals straight to your door. Bavette steak mac and cheese with roasted green...
What are you saying?
I think you'll like that one. Their meals are made with real ingredients that are fresh and never frozen, and they have a ton of different options depending on your goals. I went for the high protein meal package so that I can stay on track with my macros and my gym goals. Roasted garlic chicken with Yukon cauli mash and garlic green beans. I think I'm gonna have that. 44 grams of protein, 31 grams of carbs, 16 grams of fat. That's like some pretty good macros. Everything looks like it has a really good sauce. We're really all about the sauce over here. And bonus, it also just completely removes the temptation for me to order takeout after I've been editing like this, like a total troll for the last 10 hours. It's just really nice to know that you have something ready and waiting for you in the fridge. So if you are in an especially busy season of life, Factor just makes it so much easier, and I really think you should try it. So if you want to give them a try yourself, head to factor75.com or use my link down below in the description and enter the code ChristinaMechasFB50 for 50% off your first purchase plus 1 full year of free breakfast. Like, damn, 1 full year. That's Christina Machas FB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off plus 1 full year of free breakfast. Christina Machas FB50 at factor75.com. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. It's perfect because I still have some editing to do tonight. When I did this next thing, I swear it was like, I wasn't ready for it. It was a total truth bomb, but it's going to be such a game changer if you just feel like you never have time for anything. And that is to do a time audit. Because whenever I feel like I don't have time, I think it's actually an opportunity to get really honest about how much time I'm probably actually wasting. We all have 24 hours in a day, right? But next, you also have to subtract 8 hours for sleep, which, okay, 16 hours, great. But now you also have to subtract work hours, commuting time, daily responsibilities like household chores, cooking, cleaning, getting the kids ready. So after all that, the truth is that most of us have a solid 2 to 6 hours of real time every day. And knowing that, it is so important to know how you're actually spending that time. If we're being so for real, how many of those free hours are you spending doom scrolling or watching Netflix? And I get it if you are, that's not the point. We have to give a lot of our hours to somebody else, and often it leaves you exhausted, so no wonder that you just want to spend the rest of that time doing something mindless and easy. But it was a really hard truth when I realized that that's not really how I wanted to be spending those precious hours. There's definitely still time for rotting, which we will get to in a second, but I think zooming out and taking a really honest look at your day will just show you where a lot of your time might be disappearing to. And all I did was monitor my day for 24 hours on Google Calendar. Every hour or so, I just marked what I was doing and how I felt doing it. So if you do this after 24 hours, your audit might look like this. And this will not only reveal your free hours, but it's going to reveal your best hours when you feel sharpest and when your energy is high. And once you know that, you can start optimizing those hours in a way that feels really tailored to you. Which brings me into the next step, which is to stop making to-do lists and start time blocking instead. I am an official to-do list hater. I'm so sorry. I just find they really give you a false sense of productivity, and when you inevitably can't finish everything you've put on your to-do list, you just always feel like a failure. And I think they actually perpetuate that feeling of not having enough time to do anything. So I stopped doing them altogether and replaced them with time blocking instead. Because that 24-hour time audit is going to show you 3 things. Exactly how you spend your day, your highest versus lowest energy hours, and how much time you're actually spending doing those things. Most to-do lists don't really account for things like travel time, meal time, or times when your brain just feels like mush and all you are really capable of doing in that hour is scrolling. And in doing this, I actually learned that my best hours where I am the most clear, most focused, and most productive is between 8 and 10 a.m. After that, I start to get a little distracted, so that's when I know I need to take a break. So now I know times when I can be most effective and efficient, and other times when I can do things that are a bit more passive, like scrolling or doing low cognitive tasks like checking emails. I just use my Google Calendar and I have it blocked out for things like work, travel time, meal time, and my gym. This just really helps you be a lot more realistic about how long things actually take, and you just stop feeling so guilty about not having enough time because it's so easy for that time to get eaten up. Next is to take advantage of habit stacking. I don't know who sold us the idea of multitasking being an effective way for time management, but it's a total myth. We can only do and focus on one thing at a time. And that's even if you have a lot on the go or multiple tabs open in your brain. So even though everything on your list technically can only be done one at a time, it doesn't mean that you can't stack them on top of each other instead to be more efficient. And I did this all the time, especially when I was basically juggling 2 full-time jobs as a content creator and a pharmacist. If I was commuting to work, then I would spend some time working on my next script. If I was doing mundane tasks at home like laundry or dishes, then I would do things like listen to an audiobook or podcast to get ideas, or just to simply have some downtime listening to something I enjoyed. Because remember, it's not always about work. And nowadays, since I work from home a lot, if I need a brain break, then I'll do a chore like emptying the dishwasher. So other tasks that eventually will demand my attention still get done. But one of the biggest things I think most of us need to learn about making time for everything is that you actually can't. And that doesn't mean that this video is clickbait, but I actually think it's the whole point. Because the truth is, the people who seem like they just have time for everything aren't actually doing everything. I think they're really just good at protecting their time, and they are crystal clear on what they want. Because the unavoidable thing here is that every time you say yes to something, you are by default saying no to something else. So if you don't get really clear on what your priorities are, then someone else or even your algorithm is gonna decide that for you. But that definitely doesn't mean that you need to be perfect here, because we all go through seasons of life that really divide our attention and time. Things like business, babies, training for something, or travel. Things inevitably will come up that will draw away your time and attention. So not only is it really important to be clear on what your priorities are, but you need to be flexible with it too. For example, if I'm really busy in a week and I don't have time to do a 1-hour workout, then maybe I'll do 30 minutes. Or I'll show up for 2 days that week instead of my usual 4. But I think once you are really clear on what your non-negotiables are, then I think you're always gonna find a way to make a little bit of time for those things, even if it's not exactly the way you wanna show up for it. And by this point, you might be like, Christina, okay, great, but how am I supposed to do all of this without hating my life? This is really starting to sound like a bit too productivity, bro. And yeah, I get it. But the answer to this is actually really simple, and that is to just make sure you keep things fun. Because our brains are wired to always look for the path of least resistance and for the most enjoyment. But the problem with that nowadays is that the easiest thing to reach for that eats a lot of our time is things like doom scrolling on your phone, watching Netflix, and lying on the couch. And I'm gonna be so for real here, those things are fun, but they're only fun for like 20 minutes. I think after that, you just end up feeling really gross and like you wasted your entire life, which is probably why you're watching this video. So instead, I think it's a lot better to make sure you're looking for ways to make the things you actually want to be doing a lot more enjoyable. Like if I truly didn't love making videos, there is no way that I would have spent almost 10 years eating up my weekends, my evenings, and my holidays making them. If you're not having fun, then you're not gonna stick to it. But it turns out that time is only half the problem. The other part is actually doing the things you said you were gonna do when you said you were gonna do it. So watch this video next where I break down exactly how to start building discipline and exit your lazy era for good. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.